Hello and welcome back to Direct Capital channel. Welcome back after the weekend. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's definitely an awesome day for me because look at what has happened. 26,000 followers today. Thank you guys so much for the support. I'm really excited about this. It's really awesome to be able to have entered before the bull market in 2017, survived the entire bear market with you guys, and now be on the way to enjoying what will be a fantastic, magnificent opportunity that is the current bull market today. Let's keep on going and let's dive into today's update. I'm not going to be focusing too much on Bitcoin, but we have to say that the monthly close was spectacular. I mean, it's an excellent monthly close just above the range high resistance. So we've exited that monthly range that has been a very important reference point for Bitcoin's price action for a very long time. Now we're just seeing that price strength confirmation over here, and we're trying to establish this range high resistance as a new support so that we can springboard to higher levels. Of course, this is a great spot for Bitcoin to be in, but it has to maintain these levels very nicely. And we're actually seeing this on the weekly as well. So the weekly closed yesterday, or rather midnight from yesterday to today. So that weekly close was very positive because it was above the range high resistance as well. So of course we do have that resistance around here. So that's 9,500. Something I was talking about in the previous video, we are having this sandwiching price action for Bitcoin around this level. So it is going to be a bit of price compression. So we are going to see a volatile move soon. Of course, we have to bear in mind that we can always see retraces. I mean, if it doesn't manage to hold this range high as a new support, then we'll obviously see a breakdown into the range, the monthly range. But is that a bad thing? Because we know that the downtrend has broken this trend line that I usually have. I don't have it today. I usually have this trend line over here. This downtrending line, which lasted 7 months, has been broken. So does it really matter if we get a chance to accumulate a little bit lower in the range EQ, for instance? Not at all. In fact, I'm very open to that. I'd love to have that opportunity to accumulate more Bitcoin in a confirmed uptrend. So of course, if we see a breakdown from here, then I'm very happy with that. And of course, this monthly range is a time-tested range, so it's been a good reference point for price. So we tend to see bounces from these key levels wherever price might go. So if price goes to the range EQ, we tend to see some sort of bounce from there, and so on and so on. But for the moment, let's just see how this support over here continues to be treated, how it continues to be held. And we are seeing some consolidation on the daily, which is very positive for altcoins. It's been a great few days and weeks for the crypto market, I have to say. But of course, we have to bear in mind, are we seeing something like this? The context of this is a little bit different. So this was when we saw the Chinese president publicly endorse blockchain, which was fantastic in of itself, but it was an unsustainable rally. It was very fueled by news. And of course, it was still in a downtrend, so it hadn't broken that downtrend right over here. But what we're seeing in this current uptrend, well, that's a confirmed new uptrend. The downtrend is over, the bottom is in on this correction. So if we see a retrace, we'll probably return to around these regions. Whatever the case may be, the 200 EMA is something to watch as well, because we need to bear in mind that if the range high won't figure as a support going forward, that's something we can just be open to. So let's see how things pan out. I don't want to focus on Bitcoin too much in the short term because this video is about Ethereum. Why are long-term investors bullish on Ethereum? And they have great reason to, I have to say. If we're looking at the weekly chart, well, we spoke about this last week. Ethereum has only just returned to its weekly macro channel, and that's the channel of $160 to $360. It's only up 18% within that channel, but we have to bear in mind that we have a lower high resistance over here, the blue diagonal resistance. And before we talk a bit more about what we're looking at, I want to just share with you guys what I posted in my Telegram, my free Telegram channel yesterday, that Ethereum stands before an important daily and weekly close, and you can understand why. I mean, if we zoom in over here, if we get a weekly close above this lower high resistance, then that breaches the lower high resistance, right? It breaches that tendency, that recurring tendency that we've been seeing since around August, I believe. It'll breach that downtrend for Ethereum. So that's really important for Ethereum's price action. So Ethereum stands before an important daily and weekly close, because remember, the weekly close and the daily close just happen to coincide. So a daily close above the lower high resistance would mean that the weekly closes above it as well. Very positive. So of course we've seen Ethereum wick past this lower high diagonal twice in the past, and I'll show you guys in just a second, before rejecting harshly. Right. A daily and weekly close above the lower high would most likely ensure against such a scenario and give Ethereum a chance to turn the lower high resistance into a support, so as to springboard into uptrend continuation. And this is the lower high resistance that I'm talking about on the daily chart. We are on the daily chart now, but we're going to zoom out in just a sec. This is what I was mentioning in my free Telegram channel. Link in the description down below if you'd like to join anytime. It's for free. We have wicks here. We have wicks as well here, but we're not having wicks here because we saw a daily close right over here, which leads me to my next point. We've seen a weekly close above the lower high resistance. How fantastic is that? This downtrend appears to have been broken for the first time since, remember, August 2019. We saw a wick here, we saw a wick here, but here we have seen a candle close above the lower high resistance. So what do I want to see in a short term? Well, I'd like Ethereum to turn this lower high resistance into a support, and that's pretty much off to the races for Ethereum. The 200 EMA is right over here. Remember in the previous video last week, I spoke about a pullback to the 200 EMA resistance after a rejection here. So that was a picture perfect rejection here and a return. Not quite as picturesque as that rejection. We didn't see a wick all the way to the 200 EMA, but close enough, 1% away. That was pretty much all Ethereum had to do to regain that bullish momentum, and it's doing very well with this latest weekly and daily close above the lower high resistance. Now, before we dive in a bit more detail about Ethereum's price action and why investors are bullish on Ethereum, and rightfully so, I'd like to invite you guys to my Bitcoin halving webinar this Thursday. It's this week, only a few days away. I'm very excited for it. It's been a long time in the making. I can't wait to have this webinar and answer all your questions about the Bitcoin halving. The webinar is only $4.99, the price of a small coffee, so why not join the webinar and make the most of an event that occurs every 4 years to just truly understand what we can expect going forward. This Thursday, February 6th, 7 p.m. UTC. I hope to see as many of you guys there, but let's dive back into the video. Why are people bullish on Ethereum? And rightfully so. So if we think about this for a second, if we're looking at the weekly chart, zooming out, let's look at the macro weekly channel, $160 to $360. We're seeing a break of the lower high resistance, and if you guys cycle back to when Bitcoin broke its downtrend, it broke out to 9,400 to make a new yearly high. So that was a fantastic move for Bitcoin. Imagine the fantastic move that Ethereum is yet to enjoy. It's already up 18%, but this is a very good thing for Ethereum in the midterm, not to mention its role as a leading indicator for altcoins, which I can talk about in tomorrow's video. So do subscribe to the channel, click the red button down below, and of course if you like this video, leave a like. I'm more than happy to keep doing these videos as long as you guys find value in them. So subscribe for tomorrow's video. But of course, if we continue on with this video, we have to bear in mind Ethereum BTC on Bittrex, because this is where we have the most price action. Why are long-term investors bullish on Ethereum? Well, we see that macro channel on the USD pairing, and we see the 200 EMA for the BTC pairing. So what can we say about the 200 EMA for the BTC pair? Every time it's broken past the 200 EMA, we've seen massive ROI, massive return on investment right over here as well, and here as well. But we have to bear in mind the context, right? So bullish cycle, bullish cycle, and then bearish cycle, where we saw some relief right over here, followed by the bearish cycle continuation. And the best thing is, whenever we see a breakout past the 200 EMA, we see fireworks go off. And what can we say about Ethereum BTC right now? Well, it is interesting, very interesting, because at the moment we're seeing a lower high from the bottom for Ethereum BTC, and we're seeing a black diagonal resistance right over here, and Ethereum BTC is at that resistance, not too far from the 200 EMA. So of course, it is a resistance. The 200 EMA is going to continue being that resistance, but once we see a breakout past the 200 EMA, it's very likely. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to see a rally like this or anything extravagant like that. I always like to keep a level-headed perspective and try and be objective about the charts. I think it's sensible to assume that if we breach that 200 EMA resistance, we're going to have a very brief moment where we'll see that resistance turn into a support. And we see that here before that rally. We see that right over here as well. Remember, we even see a wick to the downside past that resistance, or at least new support. So this is where the lower buy orders get filled before having that price appreciation, that enjoying that new uptrend. So I feel that we might see the same thing here. We might see that breakout past the 200 EMA resistance, followed by a brief period, because this is what history suggests to us. We're going to have a brief period where that 200 EMA is turned into a support, and then it's off to the races for Ethereum BTC. How far will it go? We'll have to wait and see, but in the meantime, let's focus on this first black diagonal resistance and the 200 EMA resistance as well. Once the 200 EMA is breached, the support test, remember the support test will have to be that important technical thing that Ethereum BTC does before rallying to the upside. So that's just about it for today's video. If you've liked this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more daily videos. I'm publishing a new video tomorrow, so subscribe so you don't miss out. And of course, reserve your spot at the Bitcoin halving webinar, which is this Thursday, February 6th, 7 PM UTC. I'm Rex Capital, and I'll speak to you soon.